There is one tiny part of this car that tells you everything that you need to know about it. Really tiny part. It's this bit here. Can't see it? Okay, we'll crop in a bit. Now. It's this tiny little flag sticking out the front wing, like a label. It tells you that this car revels in detail and in idiosyncrasy. It is absolutely brilliant. Its name is XC40. I don't know why I wanted to do that. And it's the latest and smallest in a line of gently sensational SUVs from Sweden's national car maker. So just to put this into context, it's the sort of thing you'd buy instead of a BMW X1 or an Audi Q3 or a Mercedes GLA or you get the idea. Little fancy Germans that you see all over the place. That's because this costs roughly the same as they do, as you can see here. And what these prices make for is a 30 to 40 grand car in reality. Which granted is a lot for a small Swedish crossover. So, main question then, worth it? Aye indeed. What we have here is the sort of thing that Infiniti tried to do with the QX30. But here it's done properly, you know. It's an alternative that's not just an alternative by virtue of being alternative, but by virtue of being actually good while being different. The XC40 here is a proper, well figured out family car. See, a lot of family cars just go through the motions when it comes to the practicality stuff. Couple of holes, job done.
Matron, please.
But this one's just littered with ways of organising your litter. There's somewhere to hang your shoes and a proper hole in the center console. The door pockets are massive. You can put a whole keyboard in there. There's somewhere to put your Allen key and your little guitar and to put your board games. Basically somewhere to put all the stuff that you might find around my office. It also has a boot that, while not the biggest by volume, is clever. Multiple floor type setup and a really flat loading bay when you put the rear seats down, which makes it easy to load. But this isn't just perfunctory practicality. This is a really cool looking car inside and out. I know that talking about what a car looks like is stupid because you've probably got eyes of your own, but whether you like the look of this or not, you have to concede that it's interesting. And most significantly, it's not just a smaller version of the bigger Volvo SUVs. It has its own personality, to Volvo's credit. On the other hand, the inside is more like its bigger stuff. But that's also to Volvo's credit because the bigger stuff nails modern cabin design. For a start, it gets Volvo's big iPad-style portrait orientation touchscreen. It not only looks mega, but it's beyond intuitive. It's actually enjoyable to use. So much of the software in car touchscreens looks and feels like it was designed by somebody on a Friday afternoon who didn't really want to do it in the first place. This though, lovely. I know some people prefer physical buttons and dials for things like temperature, but if the screen's designed properly in the first place, you don't need it. And while you might knock a couple of the lower level surfaces and feel that they're a bit hard and scratchy, generally this feels like a reassuringly high quality product. Again, furnished with thought. Expect the contrasting orange stuff and it really lifts the cabin. And in a unique sort of a way. Most manufacturers' idea of being edgy is sticking a bit of coloured plastic next to the glove box. And it's all that which combines just to make this thing a lovely place to be. To the extent that Volvo would really have to screw up the ride and the ergonomics to make this anything other than a thoroughly pleasant driving experience. It hasn't. Phew. Personally, I'd like it to be a little bit softer, but that's only because I want it to ride with the same sort of luxuriousness as the bigger Volvo SUVs, because I love the way those cars feel when you drive them. Now you can see, or you can feel rather, what Volvo's tried to do here, and it makes sense. They've tried to give it a little bit of an edge to match the looks and probably with a little bit of deference to the sort of person they hope's going to buy this car. Young, sporty person. Don't know why they're Dutch. So it's got decent body control and quite quick steering. It's really light and there's hardly any feel, but it kind of goes where you point it. I wouldn't necessarily say it was riveting, but it's not clumsy and lumbering and embarrassing. You can just about feel what the wheels are doing underneath you. The trade-off is that it doesn't quite smooth the road over entirely. You can always feel that little jagged edge through the wheels. Again though, you kind of have to really look for it. I'm sure that most people will find this a very comfortable car. The sense of refinement helps, overriding any sense that this is marginally lumpy in here, especially on this road, which is crap, is the overall feeling of serenity, especially on the motorway where it keeps outside noise out really well. You know, usual stuff, engine, wind, tyres. Big range of driving position adjustment helps in that respect too. Should be able to get comfy in here fairly easily. The thing that doesn't quite hit the refinement bullseye in the XC40 is the engine. It's too noisy, that, like. Specifically the diesel. Yeah, you can get a couple of them with this called D3 and D4. This one's the 4, which means it's got 190 horsepower and 400 thingies of torque, which is a lot. More than the Porsche Boxster. Quite quick on paper, as you can see, but for some reason it just doesn't feel that quick in actuality. Fine on the motorway, it settles down nicely, but when it's cold or when you're trying to go quickly, it's just a bit unpleasant. Bit rattly, and it sort of breaks the sense of serenity in here. Which is why it doesn't really feel like much of a loss that Volvo's going to stop doing diesel engines altogether quite soon. For now though, the XC40 is available with all manner of combos of front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, automatic and manual. For us, the 8-speed auto suits the nature of this car best, but we suggest that you don't bother with all-wheel drive. Probably don't need it, it's probably going to ruin your fuel economy. Yeah, okay, so I've done about 500 miles on this. Half of that was getting the car up to Newcastle here from down south, and it's doing 32 miles per gallon, which is pretty rubbish. For that sort of MPG, you at least want to be hearing something pleasant from under the bonnet. So, what version do you buy? Well, your sub 30 grand car looks like this. So that's your base spec manual petrol front wheel drive. And to be honest, it's very easy to recommend this particular car. Quieter than the diesel, has nav, has alloys, has climate control, has moose detection. That's absolutely true. And being a Volvo, it has a large array of safety stuff as standard. Although if you want to, you can pay more for self-steering, cruise control and stuff like that. The one thing we would say is that if you want to spice up your XC40 to full personality, you know, contrasting roof and bigger wheels and stuff like that, and the orange carpet, you will have to pay quite a lot more. That's classic. But honestly, overall, doesn't matter which one of these you get, right? Because you'll be the owner of a crossover that, in my humble opinion, is the best one, pound for pound. It has personality while staying classy, and it has practicality without being boring. It'll just be a dead enjoyable car to own, you know? So, for the third time in a row, Volvo has created a brilliant SUV thing. A phenomenal Swedish hat trick, if you will.
Well, Hart didn't quite get that right. Oh, look at that! That is absolutely astonishing.
Thanks for watching, do appreciate your views and your comments, leave them as ever. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell for notifications, and stay tuned next week when we'll be reviewing I don't know what, it's a surprise. Bye!